Uh, I just want to take a moment here and thank everybody for taking the time to attend this webinar, an info session for SECOR Action Plans. What I'd like to do is introduce Austin Dowling. He's going to give you the inside scoop on how SECOR members can take advantage of this flexible option. This is going to include SECOR Action Plan eligibility, the proposal process, final submission, and implementation strategies. Austin's going to also explain how your organization can benefit from using SECOR action plans in a manner that targets the unique safety needs that go beyond the standard SECOR instrument that most of you are used to. So just a little bit about Austin. Austin is a core audit analyst with the ACSA. He's been with us now for several years, graduating from NATE in the Occupational Health and Safety Diploma program. So in 2017. Austin's responsible for enhancing the safety of auditing standards within Alberta's construction industry. His role involves in-depth quality assurance reviews, stakeholder engagement, and ensuring effectiveness of safety programs and audits. His expertise in occupational health and safety, combined with his strong communication and mentoring skills, make him an invaluable asset to the ACSA and its members. So welcome, Austin, for giving this presentation. I'm going to take myself off the screen here and let you carry on from here. Thank you. You might be on mute,
Yes,
Austin.
I am on mute, so I was just muting myself here. And thank you everyone here for taking the time out of your Friday to join this webinar regarding the new ACSA SECOR Action Plan process. Like Matt said, my name is Austin Dowling, and I've been with the core department since 2017 with doing various tasks such as reviewing core audits, SECORs, TLCs, action plans, and that's what we'll be presenting on today, which is the new SECOR action plan process. And so with, you're probably wondering what SECOR action plans are. And so 2024 is the first year that the ACSA has offered the action plan process to our SECOR members as a maintenance option. The ACSA's SECOR action plans provide an alternative way for members to maintain their SECOR, and it's a way to implement any sort of suggestions or improvements from the previous SECOR evaluations, as well as any sort of health and safety objectives that goes kind of outside of that SECOR scope, but are still really valuable for your organizations. And the SECOR action plan process is an alternative to the SECOR maintenance evaluation. And so what are some of the benefits of a SECOR action plan? It allows SECOR members to decide what they would like to focus on for any sort of health and safety initiatives. You're no longer bound to the 10 elements within the SECOR evaluation tools, so you can decide on what you would like to create for your action plan and aren't limited to just those 10 elements. And it is also it's a great opportunity for SECOR members that have had SECOR for a long time and are looking for any sort of continuous improvement throughout their organization to improve on any sort of health and safety areas in their organization. And so some things to think about regarding the eligibility requirements are do you currently have SECOR in good standing? Do you meet the SECOR training requirements? And so the SECOR training requirements are the Principles of Health and Safety Management, FISM for short, or the Small Employer Health and Safety Management SECOR course, as well as CSTS, which could also be substituted for RSTS, ESTS, and PSCT. And so those are the courses for SECOR. Another thing to consider is have you completed one full SECOR cycle? I do have a visual on the next slide that will show what a full SECOR cycle is, so stay tuned for that. The other requirement is that if you are required to have a SECOR certification that was done on the 2023 SECOR evaluation tool. And so that's another thing to consider. The other thing here is, can you develop at least one health and safety objective based off of your SECOR certification evaluation? So we'll kind of go into that a bit further, but that would be something that maybe was deficient in your previous SECOR evaluation and needs some improvement upon. And so just ensuring that you're able to do that, and as well as having a health and safety representative. So the requirement for a health and safety representative is if you have 5 to 19 employees. And so if you were wondering if you have, say, 2 to 4 employees within your company, and you're technically not required to have a health and safety representative, please notify the ACSA if you are interested in pursuing this action plan process, and we will deal with these particular circumstances on a case-by-case basis to ensure to see if you are eligible to be able to participate in the SECOR action plan process. Another thing is an owner-operator is not eligible for the SECOR action plan process. So that's if you only have one employee in your company and you're an owner-operator. So that is just something as well to consider. And so as I was saying earlier, there's the visual on the SECOR cycle. With this, so as you can see, it says year 1 is a certification audit, year 2 is maintenance, year 3 maintenance, year 4 recertification. And so in the 5th year, that is when you are eligible for to be a part of the SECOR action plan process. So if you've had a full 4 years with SECOR, and then you're in your 5th year, you have done your certification audit on the 2023 evaluation tool, then you would be eligible. And so with the action plan process, there are 2 steps as a part of it. So the first step is the action plan proposal, and the second step is the action plan submission, which will be going more in depth as to what the differences are between the two. The action plan proposals are what is submitted in the spring and indicate what you're planning on focusing on as a part of the SECOR action plan. The submission date, due date for the action plan proposal is May 31st of 2024. And for the action plan submission, that's submitted in the fall, and that is where you provide the documentation to provide proof that you've completed what you intended on within your action plan. And the submission due date for the action plan submission is November 15th of 2024. And so, as I said, we go a bit more in depth into the differences between the two. So the action plan proposal consists of 3 items. So it consists of the objective. So that's what you intend on doing off of any sort of health and safety initiatives that you have within your company. The milestone portion is kind of the schedule on how you're planning on going about it and how to do that and achieve that objective. And it gives a breakdown on the specific steps on how you'll accomplish that. And then the deliverables are the proof of the implementation of the objectives. So that'll be any sort of documentation that you'll be providing us as a part of the action plan submission to ensure that everything was completed as intended. And so what you must include within your action plan is that there is a requirement to have 3 to 7 objectives that can be started and completed within the calendar year. At least one of the objectives has to be from your previous SECOR certification evaluation, and other objectives that are created can be any sort of health and safety initiatives that you would like to focus on within your company. So some examples of that could be, say, creating a brand new training system, maybe a safe work practice for new tasks that you may have not had in the past, safe job procedures, formal hazard assessments. Those are just some examples, and that can be used as various other health and safety initiatives. And so with this, at the very top there where there's a big red box, that's the objective portion. And so this is the template that we use for the action plan process. And so in there, the objective is required to have the SMART criteria. So that is being specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And so then the other box here is highlighting the milestone requirement. And so the requirements for that are that there is 2 to 5 milestones for each objective. They're written clearly and actionable. There must be someone assigned to the milestone or a group of individuals to achieve that. And as well, there's a requirement to fill out the target date portion of that. So with that, the target date is, the ACSA doesn't measure if you've met your milestones based off of that target date. That's just for your internal processes to ensure that you're on track to meet your milestones. And so we do not grade based off of that date. It's just ensuring that you're following through with what you're intending on doing for your internal processes. And so the next highlighted box here are the deliverables. And so as I mentioned earlier, those are what the documents or any sort of records that you will be submitting to the ACSA to verify that the milestone's been completed. So there's a weighting that has been assigned to that. And so you would have to assign that to each for each milestone, and to ensure that in the end that all of the objectives in total equal 100 marks. And so that's also a highlighted box at the top left corner. It calculates it for you, so you will just have to ensure that once they're all added up that it equals 100. And so here is an example of a completed action plan objective. And so with this one, it was create a new emergency response plan for a potential emergency scenario of shelter in place that was found to be missing in the previous evaluation. And so with that, there's also a checkbox there that was checked off. That's just for us as reviewers, that we know that this is your objective based off your previous SECOR evaluation. And so what we do is we check the previous evaluation to ensure that that indeed was identified on the previous evaluation. And so that gives us a way to know what to check for when we are evaluating that. So with this as well, the objective's clear and specific. It's measurable to the company operations, and it's relevant, and it can be reasonably completed within the action plan timelines. And so the next highlighted box is the completed versions of the milestones, the responsibilities, the target dates. So for instance, here, one of the milestones is reviewing the current ERP plan with the safety team to identify ERP requirements, the responsibilities given to the safety team, and the target date is with the end of March. And so with that, it's with all these different milestones, it's appropriately broken down into specific steps for completion. All milestones have been assigned to a specific group or individual. And then the target dates are there again, like I said, to track your progress of the completion and are within the submission requirements. And so here as well is completed version of the deliverables as well as the weighting. And so with that, it's specifically identifying exactly what you'll be providing us within the documentation. So we know in the when it's submitted that this is what we're looking for, this is what has to be submitted to us, and when we're reviewing that, we'll be ensuring that the documentation or records are there to validate what was said in the deliverables. And so then there's also that weighting there that have been assigned to each one. And so as well, as you can see at the top, as I mentioned earlier, all of the objectives combined will then have to equal that 100. So that has been calculated at the top to equal that 100. And with that as well, yeah, so it's being specific in your deliverables assists the members in ensuring that all required information is provided, and as well as the weighting. And so with the once you've completed your proposal, you're probably wondering then what you'll have to do next. And so once the action plan proposal has been completed, you'll submit it to the ACSA for approval. The core team will review the proposal and ensure that all the objectives, milestones, deliverables meet the intended purpose and the standards of this SECOR action plan process. Just so you're aware, their amendments may be requested if any sort of additional information is required. So if we're needing some further insight on what you're planning on doing, we will reach out and ensure that we're kind of on the same page as what you're planning on doing and understand what you're planning to do. And so we're here to fully understand what you're planning on doing and as a resource. And so, and then once the approval has been received, then the member can begin implementing the various deliverables that will then have to be submitted in the final action plan submission, which is what we'll be talking about here on the next slide. And so with the final action plan submission process, you'll have to do what's called self-scoring, which will be shown on the next slide, and make any sort of applicable notes regarding it. Once all milestones have been completed and the member submits the deliverables for final review, before the fall submission, and ensuring all required supporting documentation is included with the final submission. So those are what will have to be completed as a part of that final action plan submission. And so, as I said, with the self-score is highlighted here in the red box. And so with that, there has to be a self-score that's provided for each milestone. You'll be providing that as SECOR members based off whether you felt that the milestone was fully completed or not. And as well, there is the self-scoring notes portion at the bottom that's highlighted as well. And in there, you can explain kind of what you've done, maybe what you haven't done. So then we know as a reviewer that, okay, I've accomplished this, but maybe I didn't accomplish something else. So then we get a kind of a full picture of what you've done as a part of your action plan process. And so the final approval stage is with this, once your final submission has been received, it will be reviewed by the core team to determine the final score. The same reviewer who did the original action plan proposal is usually the same reviewer that will review the final action plan submission. So there's continuity between that. So there's familiarity as well with the what was originally done. So we will, there's consistency from what we originally reviewed and what will be reviewed in the final approval. The court team will assign a score to each milestone based off the deliverables provided. As well, as I mentioned earlier with the proposal, there may be amendments as well that may be requested if any sort of further information is required. So potentially there was maybe something got lost in translation. Maybe it didn't go through in an email, and it was thought to have been submitted. And so we kind of give that opportunity for any sort of missing documentation for the SECOR members to provide anything that we couldn't find to hopefully then meet what was expected to be met. And the minimum overall score to maintain your SECOR certification is the 60% overall. And so if you can't finish your action plan, what we would like you to do is, so if you are unable to successfully complete the SECOR action plan, a SECOR maintenance evaluation will still have to be done in order to maintain your SECOR certification. If the if the SECOR member completes the proposal but is not able to fully implement the SECOR action plan, please contact the ACSA as soon as you can, and we'll assist you with your options at that time. As well, if you have the contact information of the reviewer that you were dealing with in the original proposal stage, reach out to them since they are already familiar with your submission, and then we will help you in your options and move forward regarding that. And so with the action plan process, you may be wondering if that'll affect your certification date. It won't. A completed action plan replaces the SECOR maintenance evaluation for the year. And so your next SECOR evaluation will remain to be due by the original certification date. And so as well, if you're wondering if you could do another action plan in the next year, you would be eligible for a second action plan as long as you received a score of 80% or higher in your previous action plan submission. So that is the requirement for that. And so this is the end of the presentation. If there are any further questions regarding anything, even anything health and safety related, but anything regarding action plans as well, feel free to email us at core@youracsa.ca or call us on our toll-free line, which is 780-453-3311 or 1-800-661 ACSA, or you can also visit our website, the www.youracsa.ca, the core SECOR section, and regarding the action plans tab. And yeah, so that ends the presentation portion of the webinar here. And Matt has informed me that there's been questions as well that will be as a part of this. So I guess I'll open the floor back to Matt.
Thanks, Austin. I'm just going to change a few things here so I can see them. So yeah, if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask, please use the Q&A. That way we can have this recorded properly. So I know one of the questions that I'll address right away is if there's going to be a copy of this presentation or the slides. So yeah, this session is being recorded. So this will be available here at a later time, and those that are attending will for sure be getting a link to be able to have a look at this down the road. Okay, so the first question that I have here, Austin, and you may have addressed this already a little bit, but it's a good reminder. So if we are too small a company for a health and safety rep, do we still qualify?
So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, with the it'll be so if you're an owner operator, you only have one employee, you're not eligible for the SECOR action plan process. But if you have 2 to 4 employees, please reach out to the ACSA regarding the your interest in the SECOR action plan process, and we'll deal with that on a case-by-case basis to ensure that if you're eligible or not to pursue that.
Yeah, can you go to the slide, Austin, that shows the eligibility requirements one more time?
Yes, I
So
can.
since this is the first year, this is the standard that's set by partnerships. However, and so the advantage of it being the first year is that if there is certain cases where you may not require to have a rep, but you may still be eligible for an action plan, that's where we need to take a look at that on a case-by-case basis and see what we can do for you there. So I don't want to dismiss it, but we just have to look at it a little bit further because this is the first year. Okay. So another question. So this is more of a confirmation, Austin. So a company is not eligible for this, so this being the action plan, unless they have SECOR for 5 years. So maybe it might be easier to address if you have that graphic again on
Yep,
the cycle.
yep.
Just to reemphasize that.
So yeah, with that, sorry. So yeah, as you can see on the SECOR action plan visual here, so yes, that cycle is, you'd have to have it for 4 years, and then in that 5th year, when it's the maintenance evaluation, that's when you'd be eligible for the SECOR action plan, as well as having that your certification done on the 2023 evaluation tool.
Okay, thanks, Austin. Okay, so we addressed the copy of the presentation and the slides. So the next question here is, can you go over the weighting again? How do we determine what number to put in there?
Okay, I can go to the completed one. So with that, the weighting's up is entirely up to the company. You decide how you want to weight that, as long as, like I said, in the end, all the numbers have to then equal 100. So basically that 100 is 100%. And so that's where those numbers come in, that they'll all have to add up to equal 100 because it's based off of 100%. And so, yeah, it's up to you on what you decide. You weight it on how you want to weight it. And that's kind of, we don't really sort of judge that. It's just ensuring that you're completing that. And so if you weight something a lot higher than something else, then you would really want to ensure that you complete that, because it has a high weighting and could potentially, if you're unable to achieve that, could cause marks to be withheld because of that. So that's just something to consider. It's entirely in your court to decide on the weighting.
Thanks, Austin. So I published a couple other questions here. You may have addressed them already. So if we've completed 4 years of SECOR and we're in our 5th year, would we be eligible? So short answer, I guess, is yes. So in your 5th year, which would be your maintenance year in your 2nd cycle when you look at the graphic. So yeah, and then I think this one was addressed too about the score. So how is the score determined? The example required 100, yet the score was 25.
Okay.
I think it was, yeah, I'll let you go on that.
So the 25, so that's just for this particular objective. So you would have to have your 3 other objectives as a minimum. And so those would all have to add up to equal 100. So if you think of it, objective 1's worth 25, objective 2 would be worth, I don't know, potentially, I'm just doing math on the fly here, so 40, maybe something like that. And then so 40, 65, and then 35 for the next objective. So that's where that plays into effect. So yeah, the 25 is just for that one, but all objectives combined would have to equal 100. So that's where the difference is between that.
Okay. And I think this one was addressed about if a company previously held, so there's a little bit different. So if a company previously held a core certificate for 4 years or basically through the full cycle, would they qualify?
Do you want to take that, Matt?
Yeah, I don't. So off the top of my head, I don't see that being an issue because if you're meeting the eligibility criteria already, the only thing we'll have to address that on a case-by-case basis as well, because the one standard does state that you had to have had a certification using the 2023 SECOR evaluation. However, depending on the circumstances, that could be something that we can address that with partnerships and see if there's something that we can do there. So I don't want to dismiss it, but the way the standard's set, we just have to make sure that we're following what we need to as a certifying partner. So that is a very good question, and that's something that I would definitely take up if we run into anybody that's in that particular scenario. So yeah, so that was good. Thank you for that question. Okay, I got a couple more questions here. I'm just starting to publish them now. Okay, so the next question is, how many items is the minimum for the action plan?
Okay, what do we mean by items?
So I'm guessing I'll take this one. So minimum item. So I guess like for the objectives, it has to be a minimum of 3, right, Austin?
Yeah.
So there has to be three main objectives. And then within each objective, you'll have milestones. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Austin, but with milestones, there really isn't a minimum for that. It really depends on what your objective is and how you're going to address that. But basically, when you're looking at your milestones, you have to, like when you do your final submission, you have to prove that you've achieved those.
So there is a minimum for the milestone. So there's at least 2 that have to be on there. So I'm showing on the slide again. So minimum of 2 milestones, and then minimum of 2 milestones per each objective, and then there's 3 objectives as a minimum for that.
Okay, thanks, Austin. Next question. So is SECOR only specific to Alberta? We are planning on expanding to BC. Can we use the same health and safety information in BC, if that makes sense? So I can answer that one. So the core program, we do have partnerships with other provinces, typically with core and reciprocity and equivalencies. Not all provinces do accept SECOR, some do. So this might be something that we'll have to take offline. This kind of goes outside of what the SECOR action plan is here for this presentation. So this would be something we'll have to take offline on this one for the individual who posed that question. Okay. I think we've addressed the rating one already. What score must I achieve on my 4th year SECOR package to be eligible to do the action plan on the 5th year? So basically, if this is your 4th year, this should be a recertification year for your SECOR.
So you'd have to get 80% overall and 50% in each element in order to get your SECOR certification.
To understand that if you have 4 objectives, would need to equal 100%.
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
So just as an understanding, so basically with all your objectives, so if you have 4 objectives within those 4, they all have to be weighted in a certain way to equal 100% overall.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. All right. Good. Just looking to see if there's any other questions that I missed. There's none in the review right now, so we'll give it another few seconds here. Please feel free if you have questions, enter it in the Q&A. We'll make sure that's published. This just helps to address the questions in a little bit more formal way. So then when we look at the record, or anyone looking at the recording again, they're able to see that front and center. Okay. I don't see any. Oh, we got one more. Okay. So what this one is, so what is the minimum score you need for the objectives overall? So example, the percentage overall is 100%.
Yeah, so I'll go back to that slide too. That was at the very end. So yeah, it's the 60% overall is the minimum in order to maintain. So it's the same as a SECOR maintenance evaluation. The minimum score is to get 60% in order to maintain. So it's the same thing for the SECOR action plan, since it's substituting the maintenance evaluation. But if you would like to do a second action plan for your next maintenance year, you'd have to get 80% overall in the action plan in order to be able to do that.
Just looking at the question. Oh, we got another one here. So if my expiry date is August 18th, would my submission date have to be prior to that as opposed to November 15th?
Okay, so it's, if we go back, sorry, I'll go back to the submission part, or sorry, the proposal. So with this, it's a bit different regarding the when you submit. So with that, as we said, so that proposal, that has to be submitted by May 31st of 2024. So that has to be provided to us by that date. And so you'd have to do that. And then the final action plan submission is due in November of 2024. So yeah, you'd actually have to do that May 31st to ensure that you're able to be eligible to continue with this process.
I guess the only other thing I would add here to this question, so if your expiry date is, let's say, August 18th, and like your SECOR certification says August 18th, 2024, as in this year, you would have to submit a SECOR recertification evaluation. So that doesn't, the action plan would not apply in this case because you're due for a full recertification for your SECOR.
Oh.
Oh, so it's August. Okay, sorry. There's a follow-up. It's August 2026. So, so it would not, for the action plan. It wouldn't have any bearing on that. So you wouldn't have to worry as long as you follow the dates. If it's on your maintenance year, follow the dates. It's on the website for your spring and fall submission, there should not be an issue.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. Is the pass based on self-score, or does the ACSA provide a score?
So the ACSA provides a score. It's based off of the final score that the ACSA provides.
Okay. All right, I'm not seeing any additional questions here. Just to give some history, so while we wait here, so action plans actually started in 2016, and it was introduced for the core holders. Over the last several years, we've had a lot of uptake and positive responses as for core holders as a maintenance option. It really was established for those that had a certification for quite some time. Originally, it was intended for some of the larger employers to be able to think outside the box, as well as wanting to do things and track measurables to their safety management system that go beyond the standard questions. So one of the things that us as an association were really advocates of is, that we've seen success for core. Why don't we express this as an option for SECOR? So me personally, I'm happy that we're able to give this option for our SECOR holders, because we have, over 1,000 SECOR holders with us as a certifying partner with the ACSA. And, there's a lot of innovation, and then there's also a lot of thinking outside the box that can provide improvement for small employers. So this is where you can take advantage of that to improve your system overall, and not being bound to just the questions that are posed in the evaluation. All right, so we have another question here. So back to August 18th, 2026, what would happen if you were not able to complete the action plan?
You would still have to do your maintenance evaluation in order to maintain. But yeah, as I mentioned it previously, that if you were originally doing the proposal and you got that approved, but then you found out, oh, I'm unable to do that, reach out to us, let us know, and we would cancel that evaluation, but a SECOR maintenance evaluation would still have to be done in order to maintain for that year.
Yeah. Okay. I don't see any further questions now. Okay, so we're at 11:45. So I don't see any. If I see any in the next, several seconds, then we'll address it. Otherwise, we'll stop the recording and give you 15 minutes back in everyone's day. So I don't see anyone come up. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to, all right, perfect. I see some thumbs up here. Oh, one more, last question here. So I just did a maintenance year in 2023. And I have another one due in 2024. Am I eligible, or does it have to be a recertification?
So you would still have to do it on the certification on the 2023 evaluation. So that is a requirement. So you would have to do that as well. So what is there anything else you'd add, Matt?
No, yeah, that was one of the things, because this is its first year. For SECOR holders, they had to have had their certification done on the 2023 SECOR instrument. There had to have been a starting point, and that was the starting point. Okay. Alrighty. Well, those were really good questions. I really appreciate the participation that everyone had here today. Thank you, Austin, for giving that presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things we want to make sure that we emphasize is if there's any further questions, feel free to reach out to us. This is something we really want to make sure that we promote and communicate to SECOR holders for all of our membership, because this is something that I just to give that additional option if there is some sort of an appetite versus submitting an evaluation and the documentation that goes with it. So fantastic. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Hope you have a fantastic Friday and a fantastic weekend, and hope to chat with you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you.